If you want to see how I transformed this into this, you know what to do. Don't go anywhere. Alright, what's up guys, and welcome back to Slim Productions. Today I'm going to take you through how I transformed my old woodworking sort of workshop into my drum studio, which is this drum studio now. I've got no professional training in joinery, and either woodworking really. It's just been a big hobby. I did work with a couple of joiners back in the day, but I didn't get like specifically trained by them or anything like that. So, you know, this is just me doing my best of what I already know and what I've picked up on the years. Yeah, just sort of DIY, to be honest with you. Quite a tight budget for this really, and it was during like the main stages of lockdown as well, so getting hold of materials and things was been quite tricky, to be honest. I mean, I'm guessing the main goal for this really was to just have my own little private drum room, and get it as soundproof, sound absorbent as I could, really, with the budget I was on. Tricky. Learned a couple of things beforehand watching YouTube videos, and I tried to execute a few of those, or as many as I could, like I say, with the money I had. But yeah, that was the main goal, have my own drum room, later to be turned into a YouTube studio. Overall, I think I've done this in about, I would say, 2 weeks. I had a good full week at it, and then the other times it just accumulated whenever I could, on the night time or on the weekend or whatever. Yeah, it was quite fun, stressful but fun. I've got my drum room at the end of it, so I'm a happy bunny. Anyway, let's crack on. I'll take you through it all as fast as I can. See what you think. So this is the workshop. This was partly dismantled, had a lot more things in than this. This is where I like to do a bit of woodwork and build things, helping out my father-in-law, 2 Tools Woodcraft. Check that out. And it was quite dilapidated really. I actually realised it was subsiding a little bit as well, which we'll get into. First of all, I started off just by using expandy foam on the eave of the roof and framing out the corners and the sides, ready for boarding. And I got a friend of mine, certified electrician, to come in and add a couple electrical outputs for us, feeding in from that original fuse box. I wanted one down there and ran another one all the way along for another double socket, which I think you'll probably see in a minute. And that was the ceiling light that I fitted myself. Actually showed us how to do it, and I fitted that because it was just a random bulb on the side of the wall originally. It was awful, and that was my extra outlet there, going down there in the corner, which is now behind me. And then I used 50mm rock wool sound insulation for the roof. Excellent stuff. Fitted that in and then boarded it. Beforehand I used some DPC sort of sheeting, damp-proof course, over the top of the boards, the rafters, sorry, and then boarded it. And then moved on to the framework for the flooring. So I decided to do it in 2 sections, try and get it in a bit easier. And used pressure treated 4x2, just ripped in half. And as you can see there, the subsidence was crazy. I had to lift it up about 2 inches, just over 2 inches in one corner, using loads of packers. And then the floor insulation was the rest of me 50mm rock wool, and a little bit of normal insulation I had left over. Flooring boards, 18mm moisture resistant chipboard. Stuck them on again with the damp proof course underneath, just for a bit of moisture control. Alright, and then after the floor was done, moved on to the framing for the walls. Just 3x2 stud work, but flat on the wall, because I didn't want it to reduce the overall space too much. Yeah, just literally just framed out as much as I could. Because it was subsiding, the whole building was doing that, so I had to pack out the walls, top or bottom, relevant to being plumbed basically. That was a bit of a nightmare. And all projects don't come without any problems, and this was my problem I had, because I had to rip the underneath of the tongue of the board for that last bit to get it in. That gap there that you can see, it didn't have any support underneath it, due to the tongue being ripped off. Realised that shortly after, it was a good few hours after, so I had to cut it, get into it, and frame it back up underneath basically. That's where I'm literally pointing out that last board I had to put in. But that's where quite a lot of traffic was going to be going in and out of the room, so unfortunately I had to cut it open and put the frame underneath, pack them out so they're nice and tight, and then fill it back in with insulation, and then literally pieces that I cut out, glued and screwed back in, and it's rock solid now. So yeah, this bit here is my storm guard door threshold that I bought. Fitted that, sealed that, and it's awesome. Moving on to the original door, it was a solid wood door, so I decided just to seal it up with some acoustic sealant, any sort of silicone that I can get my hand on really. I added some foam and little bits of cavities, framed it out because I wanted to extend the depth of the door a little bit, put a bit of plywood on top of there, and then I extended it by 30mm overhang on the door, on the top and the handle side, literally just so it would go over the internal door frame, so it'll make it like a nice snug fit. That turned out cool. The thickness I extended the depth of the door was 40mm. So I did that accordingly with me bit of framework you just seen there, and the insulation, and then the 1/2 inch plasterboard on top. And it turned out alright. That was probably the best thing I could do. I mean, obviously I would love to have, 2 doors opening alternately, as you do in studios, but couldn't do that unfortunately. But that turned out alright. For the wall insulation, I used 25mm EPS, expanded polystyrene, and then went round after gluing it to the wall. I used solvent-free silicone adhesive, because if you don't use solvent-free, it'll just melt the polystyrene eventually. So I glued all them in, cut all them, glued all them in, and then went round with, I tried to use the AC50 acoustic sealant as much as I could, but materials I couldn't get hold of it at all, so I used the next best thing, was the Mapesil AC sealant, it's called. Went round everything, all the framework, all the polystyrene, just try to reduce that air gap really through the sides. And again, with the material problem I had, I could only get hold of moisture resistant plasterboard, so I had to get that and just use that 1/2 inch again. Boarded all that, and there was obviously that little bit of air gap as well from the boards to the polystyrene, so that hopefully has helped a bit. yeah, did all the boarding and then jointed everything, joint and fill of all the screw holes as you do. Moving on to this, which is me window box that I wanted to make. Literally just made out of the same timber as the floor. Basic frame, plywood on the bottom, a bit of insulation, and then I squished down the rest of my moisture resistant plasterboard. And it turned out okay, it was a nice fit. Put some handles on. As you can see here, yeah, it's pretty much done. Painted it, put the carpet in. It's a little bit of boxing in that I already had previously. I just made it a bit better for the hot and cold pipes, because it was obviously previously a washroom or something like that back in the day, this outhouse. Stuck some acoustic tiles on the walls as you do, and it just, yeah, it turned out really well. I was really pleased with it. As you'll see in a second, I think, after trying out my drum kit in the room and recording, there was still a lot of like echo, room echo inside, sounds bouncing off loads of stuff. So I thought I'll try and dampen the sound as much as I can inside, and make all the hard surfaces soft. So as you can see, carpet on the walls and things like that, which you'll see on this video in a minute. But as you can see there, actually my drum kit fit really well, the acoustic kit anyway, really well. And like I said, I wanted to I think I went a bit crazy, to be honest with you, and just covered everything as much as I could. Use spare carpets, and you can see there the rest of the foam tiles I had. And it did work for recording. It sounded a lot better. I was sort of hoping in the back of my mind it would sort of soundproof it a bit more as well, because the soundproofing did work, but it didn't work as much as I thought it would after all the effort and all the money. But it's not going to annoy the neighbours anyway, so I think that's a bonus. That's what I was aiming for. Yeah, as you can see there as well, actually for the door and the window, I made my own sort of acoustic blanket to go over the top, which was just moving blankets sewed together with a bit of sticky Velcro on, put it over the door. And yeah, that's pretty much it.